Thank you.
Hello. Who am I looking for? Who am I looking for? Who just whistled? I know that whistle. Oh, Pop. What's up, Pop? What's up, Pop? Shout out to Norman Lots. So really quick, nobody in here really knows me or Norm. So the reason I play guitar and even this guitar, which is my traveling love of my life, is his fault, and it's been his gift. So that man, I have a lot of trust in him, and I also have so much gratitude to who he is in my life. And on Father's Day, we had a very cool combo. Love you to death, Pop. And I like my iPhone 6 that I got as an early birthday present. So, my name's Hollywood Anderson. I'm from Orlando, Florida. And I moved to New York. I'm being Hollywood right now. And I moved to New York 3 years ago, May 3rd. I came to New York because I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and I didn't grow up on the magical side of the town. The city is called the City Beautiful. Let me just tell you, my life growing up was far from it. It was super ugly. And even when we thought we had made it, we'd always end up falling backwards. So I told myself I had to do something different. I moved to South Florida with my older cousin, his wife, and his, at the time, one child, my niece Amaya, who I love so much because I had to babysit her every day for like a year. I would literally just like hang out with my niece during the day, make sure she could count to 10, scoop her from daycare, go back to the house, we would hang out, then I would leave, go do stand-up or play basketball somewhere. And that was my life. Like I wanted to be a comedian, I wanted to be an actor. And for me, living in South Florida was going to do that. It was not. So I came to the conclusion like, yo, I want to do something different in my life, and I don't want to fall victim to a cycle of not making it, or a cycle of dreaming but not like actively seeking out my dream, or not even so much seeking out my dream but seeking out what could be my reality for my life. And so what happened was I said, yo, I'm moving to New York City. Everybody moves to New York City. New York City's cool. They got the Empire State Building, and I like King Kong. So it just worked out, you know, great plan. So I told myself on May 1st, I said, yo, I'm moving to New York. I got on an Amtrak. I went to Orlando for 3 days. I left on the 1st, got to Orlando. Somebody who I knew was just like, yo, if you come to New York, you can stay with me and it'll work itself out. I found me like a little internship, and I was like, cool, I can live with you. I can be in the world's greatest city, and I can be famous like sometime soon. Because that's how you think when you're like 19 and completely stupid. And I'm glad I was 19 and completely stupid. I'm grateful that I was 19 and completely stupid. I'm glad that I trusted myself at 19 enough to be completely stupid and being able to live my completely dumb decisions. Because in reality, they're the smartest decisions I ever made. And so when I got here, I became homeless that same day. The person I was supposed to stay with reneged on their offer to let me stay with them. Now, I don't know if anybody in here like myself has absolutely no family in New York City, but when you have no family in a town like this, and this is a place you have never been in your life, it can be very, very hard to find some sense of normality, some sense of self-peace, just peace within yourself, and some sense of just like hope. Because when you're around your family, somebody, you got one cousin who's a hater, you got that one cousin who's a lover, and they tend to balance each other out, and you get it when necessary from both sides. And I had neither. But life was the biggest hater at the time in my mind. You know what I mean? Life was just holding me down. And it wasn't so much that because life is bad, it was because my circumstance in life at the moment was horrible. So what did I do? I did what I've been doing since I was about 14 years old. I survived. I figured it out. Got on Facebook. Shout out to Mark Zuckerberg for that great invention. And I hit up somebody I met because I grew up in the South is super Republican and super conservative, and we all know that. So one thing that you would know from if you grew up in the Bible Belt is that being cool with the idea of homosexuality isn't cool. And I was broken out of that ideology by a bandmate of mine who had a gay mother and a gay father. And hanging around with Ty's family, I realized it doesn't matter what anybody decides to wake up and do, how they decide to wake up and live their lives. If somebody's a good human being, you should just love them and treat them how you want to be treated. Everything else is irrelevant, and I'm not God. I don't have heaven or hell to send you to or condemn anybody to anything. I don't have any superpowers. So what I believe is what I believe, and what you believe is what you believe. And I hit up Ty, and I said, bro, I'm homeless in New York, and you're from New York. He said, hit up Jason, who is his mother's best friend, like her little brother. This is this gay guy who I love to death. Me and Jason go out all the time in Hell's Kitchen, and we get turned up. And he also has hooked me up like a lot of my ex-girlfriends. So shout out to Jason, grateful for him as well. And he told me go to a shelter. And at first I was really like off. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what's a shelter? Like, I didn't know what any of this stuff was, because I always came from a place where even if my family didn't have a lot, we didn't have a lot together. We shared in our nothing. But to come to a place where you can't even share nothing with somebody, or a little bit of something with somebody, it's a hard thing. And so I got to Bellevue's Men's Shelter on 30th and 1st Avenue. It's right by the NYU hospital. And from the moment I walked through the door, everybody in the shelter knew this kid does not belong here. He is not from here. I don't know where that boy's from, but it ain't from here. I don't know why he's here, but he shouldn't be here. And so instantly, it became a cycle of all these people trying to help me out of this place. Even from like other people who are homeless in the shelter, like, you gotta find a way out. You gotta get out of this shelter. And one of the places that was suggested to me was this nice place called Covenant House. And Covenant House helps homeless youth around the world, 32 sites in North and South America. Hopefully we can go to Europe really soon. And they help out people who have no hope. But most importantly, the age of people who need hope most in life. I think all teenagers need hope. All young adults need hope. I think everybody from like 16 to 30 should be constantly told, hey, I love you. Because I don't think till a person's past 30, they realize who they are. That's just me. Because I see it too much every day. Where like I have all these friends who are like coming out of grad school, doesn't know what's happening in life, doesn't know who loves them, doesn't know who wants to love them, don't know who to trust. And so I went to Covenant House, and at Covenant House you find love, you find trust, and you find people who are willing to help you, and not because their check is amazing, because it isn't. I get one of those checks now. It is nothing to be smiling about. But what I do is something to be so proud of, and that is something to smile about. And when I went there, they opened up their arms to me, and I'll never forget on my first intake, a young woman asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be the greatest entertainer of my generation. I want to do everything and be good at everything. I want people to love me because I can do everything. And she said, I think you should just be yourself. Whatever's supposed to come will come. And I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to do everything, be good at everything, and people are going to love me for everything. She was just like, if you just be yourself, I think people will love you for that. And so in the midst of all of that, one of the things I've always been is curious. The biggest part of who I am is my curiosity about everybody in life. I want to learn something about everybody in this room. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, what made you wear this great green combo you got going. I like it. It sticks out. It's dope. I see your very nice, conservative, yet super fashionable look over here. I like your denim jacket. Like, I see what's happening around me. Ma'am, I love your leggings. Like, I peep game on everything. And so Norm, who's sitting in here, has a 215-year-old upright bass, and on occasion he would play it with another resident of Covenant House named Yusuf. And I would just walk by his door in the hallways, and I would listen, and I would pay attention. I wouldn't go in for a while. I was really nervous. But I was curious, like, what is this dude? This dude's old, but he's jamming. And then what got me to go in was him playing Stevie Wonder on a guitar. And coming from a place where everything is so based off race and all these undertones of different prejudice and racism, to walk by some random old white guy's office who we see every day, and all the kids have no idea what he does at Covenant House. And he pretty much talks to everybody who's on their way out of life and convinces them that giving their money to this cause is what they should do with their legacy, what they should do with their last. And so a lot of people didn't know that, but we're like, yo, that dude's weird. Like, what does he do? And I would go by his office, and he was just playing like good soul music. Music that supersedes all thought and notion of how you should feel about somebody. Because if it's not a good feeling, you don't want it, that kind of music. And I never forget, I stepped in one day, and he started playing, and I didn't know the words to the Stevie song. And I was mad confused. But I made up my own song. And he was just in awe of the moment. And I think in that moment, he probably will never hear this again, but I'll tell you today, Pop, I don't like getting emotional with you. We both know this. is I was more in awe of him and his ability to accept me at that point in my life when I thought I was unacceptable. To say, hey, you have a good voice. You're good at whatever you are doing right now, this making up music, freestyling thing, you're dope at that. Like, you gotta create, man. You're a good kid, man. I like your sound. You got an amazing voice. And I was just like, whoa. And I was just like, wow, somebody actually likes my music. Somebody likes my sound. Somebody takes an interest in me. And so what happened was I would come to the office all the time and we would jam, good, bad, and the worst. No voice, some voice, and a little voice. We shortly thereafter ran the New York City half marathon together. He trained me for it. And if you look at me and say, I don't believe you, we got photo evidence. And I still got the shoes. And you know, about a week or so after the half, I go up to the second floor of Covenant House, which is where your office used to be. And I walk in and we start talking. And he hands me a guitar. He tunes it in drop D tuning, which means it's pretty much a kid who's 2 or 3 years old can figure out drop D tuning. You know what I mean? It's a really simple way to play. And he gave me the guitar. I took the guitar, I went downstairs, I got a one-way Metro card, and I went to Bedford Avenue of the L train line, and I started to play and sing. And I did not know what I was singing about. I had no idea what I was playing. All I knew was it was art and made sense to me. So I figured it would make sense to somebody else. And it did, because that day I made like $173. And from that day forward, I told myself I would never work another 9 to 5. I would never work for anybody else. I would sacrifice all my comfortability for this dream, this notion that I could be a creative that makes well beyond $173 in one day, not knowing anything about the guitar. And it started with somebody gifting me an instrument. I think one of the purest things about being grateful is understanding that you got a gift. And I'm gonna say that one more time. One of the purest things about being grateful is understanding that you got a gift. A lot of people aren't grateful because they don't understand the gifts that they have received. So they don't get it. They don't get the blessing. They don't get the message. They don't get whatever. But they don't get that, you know what I mean, for somebody to say, here you go. This is going to help you. This is going to better you. This is going to make you who you want to be. This is going to help you get to the next level. A lot of people sometimes don't know how to understand and accept, so they don't have reasons to be grateful. But I was given a reason to be grateful. And I was aware enough. I was still stupid, 19-year-old kid, but I was smart enough at the time to be aware of what was happening to me in my life. So when I made that $173, it changed my whole view, my whole outlook. Because it now wasn't just Pop telling me, hey, you're good at this music thing. It was like, holy snap. I ain't eating a real meal from a restaurant in a minute. You know, I'm sitting at the table happy as ever. I tipped the waitress like $30. It was crazy. She was looking at me like, why are you so happy today? And it's just like, you don't even know, but this might be bad spending, but let me share this joy with you.